Hey fam, you ain't ready for this.
It's big money, big cars, big moves. It's muscle tone, brah, there ain't nothing to prove. The best breeds from the States to the outback. Keep your eyes peeled, guaranteed you gon' learn that. Beanstalk, big boss on lock. If a canine was God, it would be this dog.
Hello everyone, welcome to another Muscletonebullys episode. So today I'm going to discuss genetics as well as red flag breeders. So red flag breeders meaning, without naming anyone of course, I'm going to give you the behaviors and the flags that you need to pay attention to realize who you're dealing with, if they know what they're talking about, they don't know what they're talking about, they're pretending to be someone they're not, so that you're more careful with the advice you take from them, because these types of advice are very destructive sometimes and they can destroy your entire program, they can destroy your future into the breed and many other things. So our pond is completed, so I'm going to sit by the pond and have this conversation. We're going to discuss a little bit genetics. First off, there's too many breeders out there that think they understand genetics when they really truly don't understand genetics at all, who think they can read a medical journal and translate it, but they really cannot. And this becomes very obvious in the speech they use. They try to use some big words that they read off something, or maybe they read off of a genetic testing that they had received back, and they try to speak as if they can comprehend it. A topic, for example, is the MERLEs. Now that we know that the ABKC has accepted the MERLEs, something that about 3 years ago when we did the stack off with Beanstalk and Cash, they asked me about what I thought of Nikos Brown and his muscle MERLEs, which I said I love Nikos. I think his muscle MERLEs are great dogs, and I have nothing against MERLEs. And a question I think was asked to me about genetic issues with MERLEs, and I said there is no such thing as genetic issues based on MERLE. MERLE is just a color, like anything else, and it does not cause any genetic issues. So, and I said, and anyone who could show me a medical journal that says that the color MERLE should never be bred and it's a genetic issue, to go ahead and show me any different, but you're not going to find it. And of course, what I call red flag breeders, someone went on and posted a YouTube video, which I responded to back then too, but bringing the topic up for the concept of this episode today. So they posted a video showing a .com, by the way, not a medical journal like I had said. Nevertheless, they're discussing the double MERLE gene, and they're explaining to me or telling me how stupid I am for not understanding that breeding two MERLE dogs together causes problems. Okay, first of all, let's clarify things. A, you just showed me you know nothing about genetics because you thought the double MERLE gene meant two MERLE dogs together. That's red flag number one. See, that's how you know a red flag. Someone who does not know what he's talking about. Number two, you just explained to me as well that you what we call a fool. A fool is always sure of himself without doing any study or any research or asking any experts on a topic, but decides that they're smart enough to understand it on their own without any studying, and yet not only understand it without any studying, that they're going to go preach it and teach it to others as well without having actually done any study, work, or experimented with the topic itself. Something that I would never ever have done in my entire life, even at a younger age. It's something that anyone with common sense knows that only fools are sure. Okay, so very often I say should or could be or on and on, because even with all the information I have and all the studying I've done, I could always be wrong. So that's a very important topic. So when you hear someone talking with certainty, like they have no doubts and question that this is how it works, it should be red flag number one. Red flag number two is when they're starting to use big words that they can't even comprehend themselves. Always double check their facts. You will see that's red flag number two. So these are the type of breeders you need to be very careful with. Now let's explain the topic of MERLE so that you guys will understand it. First, to understand genetics, okay? To understand genetics, first you have to know chromosomes, okay? So we gotta go down to the chain. So chromosomes first, then genetics. What are genetics? Genetics are composed of DNA. So now some genes are composed of DNA and protein and the essential sugars. Some genes are composed of only a protein, but the majority of genes are nothing but a programming code. So now how do I explain the programming code? Think of a computer algorithm. Sorry, my English is not great. Algorithm. So this particular system works how? It works in a patterns of ways that programs whatever computer or object that you're working with to operate in a certain way. And an intelligent computer, or an AI as we call it today, artificial intelligence, will have its own method of programming this formula. After you've put the algorithm in it and you taught it how to think, now it's thinking on its own. So it forms a formula that operates the system the way it's supposed to operate. So the genes are pretty much the same thing. They're just a programming method. So a group of genes will tell the DNA, for example, how the protein should function, how the sugar levels should function, how the cholesterol should function, how your brain should function, how your eyes should function, how your muscles should function, how your joints should function. So it's a programming code, right? So think of a computer, right? So that's what genetics are. That's what genes are, right? Now, hundreds of thousands of genes will eventually compose or form a chromosome. Now, how many chromosomes in a dog? Okay, so humans are different than dogs, different than dolphins, different than everything else. So every creature has its own chromosome. A dog has 78 chromosomes. Now, you can ask anyone who knows anything about genetics, or basic genetics, let's just say basic. Ask them to name 2 chromosomes. If they can't name 2 chromosomes, which are the most basic of chromosomes on the planet, okay, which is male and female, XX and XY, chances are they know nothing about genetics. Nothing. Actually, not chances. Guaranteed they know nothing. So, and if you don't know the 2 basic chromosomes, you don't know chromosomes in general. That's the first thing you learn. This is something you learn in 3rd grade, actually. So, now, what is a double MERLE gene, or any double gene in that particular situation? Anytime you have a double gene is what we call a copy. So when a gene copies itself, and now you have 2 the same, it's called a mutation, right? So it's a double gene mutation. That mutation causes a problem, which now allows the body to misfunction. So for example, it could make chromosome double itself, or it could eliminate a chromosome out of the equation. So let's say the dog had 78 chromosomes, now he has 77, right? So now we have a problem. It's skipping one. We're missing one. Maybe it has 74, maybe it has 75, because that particular chromosome that was based on the programming is now missing. So I don't want to go into deep details, breaking down genetics for you guys. We could sit here for hours discussing this. But the idea of a double MERLE gene, or any double type of gene ever, comes down to a mutation. This is not when you put 2 MERLE dogs together, they don't make a double gene, they don't make a duplicate gene. That's like saying if you bred 2 black dogs together, you're going to have a double black gene, or a double white gene, or a double this. No. MERLE is just a color, okay? Now, I had someone else who tried to be somewhat intelligent with me and started talking to me about OPOC and all this, and pretty much using big words to describe color patterns, or colors in general. At the end of the day, you're describing colors, okay? That it's faint or not faint, transparent, diluted or not diluted, on and on and on. You're just describing colors. All colors are broken down in these type of agents. So using those big words to pretend you understand genes is another red flag, because he couldn't understand when I asked him the question. I said, what are you breaking down? You're just breaking down the word color. No, it's not. It's a pattern. No, it's not. All colors are patterns. All genes are based off patterns. Everything is a pattern in the body. So everything has an algorithm and a pattern. Everything. Literally. Well, almost everything. There's a few exceptions. So at the end of the day, that's another red flag right there. So just because you've DNA'd your dog for a genetic testing and you understand what colors it carries and this and this and that, it does not mean you understand genetics. It just means that you're able to read what color genes your dog carries. Which, by the way, just because he carries them, it does not mean he will pass them on. Which is why I say very often that these tests don't mean much. And just because your dog has a clean genetic bill of health, it does not mean that it would not cause a mutation with another dog who's also clean bill of health. Or could have a recessive gene from the father, grandfather, great-grandfather, or great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. We don't know. The truth is we don't know much, okay? All these things can come down. Which is why very often when they ask me, when are you out crossing, when you're doing this, I know what my dogs carry. I know the faults my dogs have passed on. I know what dogs have had what. I've bred only dogs with clean bill of health, but yet struggled for years to always get healthy dogs. Of course, it's gotten better and better, but not perfect. And it will never be perfect because perfection doesn't exist. But I know what I'm working with and I know how to solve it because it's mine. I've built it from almost scratch. When I bring something new, I don't know what they've done. I don't know what's in that pedigree. I don't know what is true and was not true in the pedigree itself, just even by looking at it. Plus, even if I did know that it was 100% true, I don't know those dogs. They weren't in my care. I didn't DNA test them. I didn't breed them either to see what results they produced at all times. What traits were dominant in them. I don't know anything, really. So I gamble when I do that. Now, is an outcross necessary? Eventually it will be. Now, when I built my program at Muscletone, I used many different lines of dogs that were not related. But one thing they all had in common is that they were all extreme in substance, bone, head, and mass, and chest spread. And I made sure that they were all healthy. So yes, we had some dogs that were less healthy than others in the beginning, but we worked our way to healthier and healthier dogs as we found them, and we eliminated the ones that had any issues out of the program. Even the entire line from them sometimes. So yes, I know what I'm working with when I'm working with my own stuff. I don't know what I'm working with when I'm working with someone else's stuff. All right. So to go back to the MERLEs. MERLEs, bred to MERLE, is not a problem. So guys, stop preaching that. I hear you, a lot of you preaching that. Is not true. That does not cause a double MERLE gene, please. That is a very obvious explanation that people who are preaching that don't understand genetics at all. A double gene of any kind is a mutation, and it is not caused by breeding two dogs of the same color together, okay? So, that being said, there are many dogs in nature that are MERLE. By breed, they only come in MERLE. Dingoes in the wild come in MERLE. So, they live a normal life. They have no issues. So again, MERLE was disqualified by certain uneducated, I don't want to use bad words, but uneducated, let's just say overconfident men and women who decided they're going to dictate what is right and wrong without any knowledge and study behind it whatsoever. And I see this a lot in the dog world. I see standards written without any knowledge. I see this in the AKC as well, guys. Not only in the ABKC and UKC. I see this in many registries. The more I learn, the more I realize that these dog people who are writing things, even some of them being vets, are very uneducated on the topic that they're writing on, which is crazy to me that it get passed on. So I have met vets who have told me that my dog was too large for the breed and it wouldn't live to 6 or 7. My first dog lived to 19. I've had vets tell me my dogs had hip issues. I spent thousands of dollars at the vet and another clinic to find out my dog has excellent hips. I've had dogs tell me that, oh, they hear a murmur. Another one does not hear a murmur, to spend $4,000 on examinations to find out that my dog has a perfectly fine heart. So it comes down to either they're just trying to scam you and make you pay for more testing, or very often they just don't know what they're listening to or what they're looking at because of, inexperienced and uneducated situation. I will tell you guys a little story about an emergency clinic here near me in Naples. I will not name it out of respect, even though they don't deserve it. I had a dog who went into labor early, a week early. And it was middle of the night, so I rushed her over to this emergency clinic down here. And he had her back there for a few hours doing all kinds of testing and blood work. And I'm like, listen to me. All I need you to do is put an ultrasound on, and I want to know if the puppy's heart rates are in distress. Oh, no, the heart rates are good. Okay, I took his word on it. Then I questioned him again. I said, are you sure the heart rate is good? He says, yes. I said, what is the heart rate levels? Oh, let me check. Oh, they're 165. I said, the puppy's under stress. You need to cut the dog open and pull him out. No, that's completely normal, he says to me. This man did not know that the heart rate of a puppy is not the same thing as the heart rate of the mother. And he did not know the difference between the two. And he did not know that that meant that the puppies were in distress. And he did not know that he had to cut them open. He argued with me, told me how he graduated top of his class and he knew what he was doing, and he was going to have me, a breeder, tell him that he was wrong. So I said, please give me the dog. I'm going to take it somewhere else. I can't. I need to cut her open right now. He goes, well, if you sign a waiver, we'll open her up. I said, sure, I'll sign the waiver. So I signed the waiver, and I'm waiting, and I said, dude, you have to take the puppies out. I'm going to lose the mother. And he says to me, he goes, we're waiting on the veterinarian that can do the C-section to take her out. I said, what do you mean? You can't do a C-section? He says, well, I haven't done a C-section else since med school. And I was like, you need to cut these dogs open and take them out. If not, I'm going to do it myself. He's like, well, you can't do that. I said, and then I'm taking her somewhere else. Okay, well, let me see. There's another clinic down the road that we can send you to. By the time he got me that clinic's number, my dog died on the stable with 9 puppies inside her. Now, granted, the puppies were probably not going to live, being that she was a week early, but nevertheless, I lost the mother, and I was angry and pissed. They gave me a settlement for this negligence. It was not anything worth the damage and the loss of a life of a dog, because you cannot put a number on that, what he put that dog through, being so stupid and ignorant. And this is a vet who brags about graduating top of his class. So I've learned along the years that even vets could be wrong. Very often, anyone who's too full of himself is usually full of crap. Double check your facts. If you are not sure about a topic, go look it up. Go research it. Ask someone else. Get a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion if you need to, especially when you're dealing with living creatures. So this is something that, I take to heart, because it's affected me throughout the years, allowing people in these positions to dictate the life of my dogs, the life of my children as well. I've had doctors that I've had issues with as well. With my son, who has a condition, which is probably why I'm so good at genetics, because his condition is important to me, and I've pretty much become an expert on the topic. Even doctors now call me with questions, only because I love my son and I want to find a cure for him, and I want to find something for him. So now we have him on a treatment, by the way. So hopefully this is working. But at the end of the day, these type of things, don't play with lightly, guys. Okay, you guys are dealing with livestock. Do not play with these things lightly. These are serious things. Do not pass on information without knowing facts. It's not about he say, she say. It's about, I have looked it up, I have studied it, I have tested it, and this is how it worked for me. I don't know if it will work for you. That's what I tell people. And the reason I say that is because, again, only fools are sure. Because even with all my studying and all the science information I have and all the experience and things I've done, tomorrow I can have new information. Science changes all the time as we discover new things. We discover we were wrong about this, we were right about that, on and on and on. So you would be surprised how many things you think you've learned, even in school, that you learned maybe 20 years ago, that if you look today, you'd find out that you were taught completely wrong. For example, the size of Africa is not the size of Africa on the map, So that's just a simple example. And people are constantly trying to rewrite history, science, geography, and on and on. So, and the reason for that is, one, things get passed on off of he say, she say without double checking evidence. Having a name for yourself sometimes gives you credibility to speak things and not be questioned, which I don't like that. I tell people, question everyone. I tell my wife, I say, question me anytime. I've never lied to my wife, but I'll tell her every time, question me. Please question me. If I say something, go double check what I said. I could be wrong, and we can both learn and we can both grow from it. So these are important things in your breeding program. So I want to cover that topic to let you guys know that, there's a good reason MERLEs are back in the ABKC. There's nothing wrong with them. And there's nothing wrong with breeding 2 MERLE dogs together. So stop the nonsense. Or a white dog to a MERLE dog, which is another thing I heard too. So don't worry about these nonsense things that are not facts. If you have questions about genetics, either speak to an expert or look it up yourself. But if you don't know what you're reading, it's going to be very hard to understand what you're studying. If you don't understand genes, you don't understand chromosomes, proteins, peptides, if you don't even understand a blood panel, cholesterol and sex hormones, even basic things like, progesterones and testosterone and estrogen, like the basic stuff, you're not going to understand genes. You're just not going to be able to understand the journal that you're reading. So you have to understand these things. You have to know your 3 main sugars and the 4 sugars in the body. You have to know all of these things to understand how genetics works. You have to know all of your chromosomes, all 78 of them. If you don't have them memorized, how could you break anything down? So study, learn. If you don't know, check with an expert. Check with someone who knows. Check with a geneticist. Check with, maybe a neurologist. They're very good at genes. So something like that. And if you don't have one in your family members or a friend or someone, then that's when I tell people you guys to grow your circle. Grow your circle. I've invited people to events where you can meet these kind of people, that you can meet doctors, geneticists, neurologists, businessmen, lawyers, and all kinds of stuff that can help you grow not only your program on how to breed, but your business itself and all of that. If you don't grow your circle, guys, you're not going to grow your company. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. You might get lucky here and there, but luck is not the same as consistently producing monster after monster, selling 6-7 figure dogs after the next. That requires skill, knowledge, and business. Of course, God's blessing above all, but God works in this particular way. When you ask him for something, he gives you the opportunity to learn. He gives you the opportunity to work. He gives you the opportunity to run across people that could teach you. And if you don't take those opportunities, you don't take these blessings from him, why even ask him for anything? You're not accepting his gifts. So that concludes the episode for today. I hope it was helpful at all or educational in any way. And if you guys have any questions that I can help you guys with, please let me know. See you in the next episode.